The human eye performs a saccade roughly 3 times every second. It is a rapid, ballistic movement of the gaze that shifts the point of foveal fixation. In the Paleolithic era, this twitching mechanic was a survival algorithm, scanning the horizon for the slightest disruption in the tall grass, a predator, a prey animal, a change in the wind. Today, the mechanism remains, but the horizon has collapsed. The savanna has been replaced by a 6-inch rectangle of Gorilla Glass, backlit by light-emitting diodes oscillating at 60 Hz. We are still scanning for disruption, but the threat is no longer a lion. The threat is the silence of our own minds. We begin in a sterile white room. A subject sits in a wooden chair. There are no devices, no windows, no books. Just the hum of the air conditioning and the rhythmic thumping of their own heart. Neuroscientists call this the default mode network. It is the state the brain enters when it is not focused on the outside world. For centuries, this was the baseline of human existence. It was in this silence that architecture was conceived, that mathematics was derived, that the self was constructed. But looking at the functional magnetic resonance imaging data, we see something alarming. In the modern subject, the default mode network is no longer a sanctuary. It is a source of pain. The anterior insula lights up. This is the region of the brain associated with physical discomfort and visceral disgust. When denied external stimulation, the modern subject does not relax. They suffer. In a study conducted at the University of Virginia, participants were given a choice: sit alone with their thoughts for 15 minutes, or administer a painful electric shock to themselves. 67% of men and 25% of women chose the shock. They preferred physical pain to the intolerable friction of boredom. This is the Boredom Trap. It is not that we have nothing to do. It is that we have lost the ability to do nothing. Cut to the sprawling, sun-bleached campus of a major technology conglomerate in Silicon Valley. The architecture is glass and steel, transparent yet impenetrable. Inside these walls, the greatest behavioral psychologists of the 21st century are not curing depression or anxiety, they are weaponizing them. They are engineering the hook. This is not a metaphor, it is a specific economic term derived from the work of B.F. Skinner. In the 1930s, Skinner placed pigeons in a box. If the pigeon pecked a lever and received a pellet of food every single time, it pecked only when hungry. But if the pigeon received food at random intervals, a variable ratio schedule of reinforcement, the bird became obsessed. It pecked until its beak bled. The scroll of a social media feed is the Skinner box perfected. The lever is the thumb swipe. The pellet is the dopamine hit of a notification, a like, or a viral video. The algorithm does not want you to be happy. Satisfaction leads to cessation. The algorithm wants you in a state of perpetual low-grade anticipation. It wants you on the verge. This is known as the zone of machine fidelity. It is a trance state where the perception of time dilates. Users underestimate their screen time by an average of 40% because the hippocampus, responsible for encoding new memories, stops writing to the drive. You are not living, you are buffering. The camera glides over a sea of servers in a data center in Northern Virginia. The hum is deafening. These machines process petabytes of behavioral surplus every day. They know the precise moment your pupil dilation suggests a drop in engagement. They know that at 7 o'clock in the evening, your willpower reserves are depleted by glucose reduction in the prefrontal cortex. That is when they serve the most addictive content, the outrage, the fear, the envy. Boredom is the enemy of this economy. If you are bored, you might look up. You might question the utility of the device. Therefore, boredom must be eradicated. But boredom was never a bug. It was a feature. Biologically, boredom is the sensation of stagnation. It is a drive state, like hunger or thirst. Hunger compels us to eat. Thirst compels us to drink. Boredom compels us to explore, to create, to innovate. It is the evolutionary pressure to alter one's circumstances. By constantly anesthetizing the sensation with cheap digital confetti, we are short-circuiting the mechanism of human progress. We are eating the mental equivalent of high-fructose corn syrup around the clock. The result is a paradox. We are overstimulated, yet numb, obsessively busy, yet intellectually sedentary. Consider the neurochemistry of the synaptic gap. Every time we succumb to the impulse to check the screen, we release a microdose of dopamine. Over time, the receptors in the nucleus accumbens downregulate. They become less sensitive. This means we need more stimulation to feel the same level of normalcy. This is the definition of tolerance. The silence gets louder. The stillness gets scarier. We begin to fear the gap between moments. We pull out the phone in the elevator for a ride of 3 floors. We pull it out at the traffic light. We pull it out during the 2 seconds it takes for a web page to load on a desktop. We are terrified of the glitch in the matrix where we might encounter ourselves. The investigation moves to the classroom. We observe a generation of children who have never known a moment of unmediated existence. Teachers report a plummeting capacity for deep work, the ability to read a novel, to follow a complex linear argument, to sustain attention on a singular object for more than 3 minutes. Is atrophying. This is not merely a change in habit, it is a rewiring of the connectome. The brain is plastic. It shapes itself around what it does. If it practices rapid task switching and superficial scanning, it becomes an expert at distraction and an amateur at contemplation. We are building a civilization of cognitive sprinters who collapse at the sight of a marathon. Zoom in on the user interface design, the infinite scroll. Invented in 2006, it removed the natural stopping cue of the page break. In the physical world, a newspaper ends. A book has a last chapter. The feed has no bottom. This design choice was not accidental. It exploits a psychological phenomenon known as unit bias. Humans are wired to finish what they are given. When the bowl is bottomless, the eating never stops. The frictionless nature of modern design slides the user past the point of diminishing returns without a single bump to wake them up. There is a darker economic reality beneath the surface. Boredom is the only state in which we are not consumers. When we are bored, we are self-reliant. We use our imagination to fill the void. When we are entertained, we are passive recipients of paid programming. The destruction of boredom is the colonization of the final frontier of human consciousness, our idle time. Companies are currently valued in the trillions of dollars based on their ability to mine this resource. They are drilling into the bedrock of our downtime. The camera holds steady on a single blinking cursor on a black screen. The ultimate consequence of the boredom trap is not just a loss of productivity, it is a loss of empathy. Empathy requires slow, deliberative thought. It requires the ability to simulate the mind of another person, a process that is metabolically expensive and time-consuming. The digital environment favors hot cognition, reaction, judgment, trend. Ignomous signaling. In the absence of the slow, boring work of understanding, we retreat into the fast, exciting work of condemning. We are becoming a species of reactionaries, incapable of the pause necessary for grace. We return to the white room. The subject is shaking. The 15 minutes are almost up. The silence is deafening. They reach for the button. They choose the shock. It is a release. It is something. Anything is better than the void. But it is in that void that the cure lies. To escape the boredom trap, one must stop struggling against the wires. One must sit in the chair. One must endure the itch, the phantom vibration, the terror of irrelevance. One must let the dopamine levels crash and the receptors reset. It is a painful detox. But on the other side of that boredom is the only thing that actually matters. The ability to think, the ability to dream, the ability to be. The screen fades to black, but the humming sound remains. Lingering for 10 seconds, before cutting to total silence.